From the Aishin Broadcast Studio, it's the Executive Spotlight.
Welcome to another episode of AutoSuccess Executive Spotlight. I'm Kyle Alexander, and joining me today is Eric Moen, Manager of Consulting Services Recon Vision with Reynolds and Reynolds. Eric, hey, thanks for joining me today.
Yeah, thanks for having me.
So we're going to be talking a little bit about the reconditioning process and efficiency in the recon process today. And, dealerships are looking to become more efficient just about everywhere in their operations now. So my first question for you, Eric, how accurately are dealerships measuring time when it comes to vehicle recon? And maybe specifically talk about time to line and cycle time.
Yeah, so it's a great question. A lot of dealers, there's a lot of great operators out there, right? So I don't speak to all dealerships. A lot of great operators, but I do see several dealers out there as I visit them or as I consult with them that aren't truly measuring everything, right? They're only measuring maybe the service department, so parts and service, and then they are not counting things like time before they get a repair order opened, or time between service and maybe detail, or between service and maybe a vendor or off-site. So there's black holes, or there's gaps in their measuring process. And some of them use very manual ways of measuring it, which are going to be inaccurate, right? So they may have a whiteboard that they're saying, okay, this car came in, here's my stock number, it's in this department, and they move it through a process, or Google shared documents. There's a number of manual ways to measure it that are inaccurate. And then if you're missing steps in between that process, like I said, from acquisition or to when it maybe go offsite, if you're not accounting for those, you may say, well, getting a car through my service department's great. I'm getting it through my service department in 4 or 5 days, but that's not accounting for everything else in the process, that it's still not a car that you can sell. So to me, putting a great number out there to say, hey, we're doing our recon in 4 or 5 days sounds good, but if it's not accurate, what does it really mean for you? You're still losing money on that vehicle.
Absolutely. And I think something that comes up when talking about efficiency a lot is consistency. So how important is a consistent process throughout recon to help ensure that a dealership's putting out a quality product for sale? And walk me through what consistent recon processes look like, if you could.
Yeah, so that's a really good point. So there's a lot of focus on time, and time is very, very important. Don't get me wrong. I mean, every day that car is sitting is costing you money, right? It can be anywhere from $40 to $80 a day, in holding costs or depreciation. However, another important piece to that is making sure that you're putting, a safe and quality product out there for sale, especially in today's market, right? Used cars are very challenging to come by. Customers, people are hanging on to those used cars a lot longer, given that the interest rates are higher. So, instead of a trade-in getting 35 to 45 to 65,000 miles on it, you're sometimes getting over triple digits. So that vehicle is going to need more work. And sometimes what you'll see is the used car department is so focused on getting those cars out to the front line for sale and getting them out there very quickly. They put pressure on, the service department or their vendors to get them done quickly. Well, what ends up happening is they're going to pencil whip, or they're going to cut corners to get a vehicle out there in a timely manner. And now what you've done is you put something out there that gets missed, right? I forgot to pressure test the radiator. I forgot to check the tread depth on the back tires, or whatever that is. And then that car can be out there quicker, but it could also be an eyesore. It could be something when somebody test drives, they continue not to buy it. So it sits there, again, costing you money.
Right. Now, when measuring recon, what does the service department need to account for? And how can this help the service department improve its work?
Yeah, so it really depends on, so every dealer is going to do things a little bit differently, right? The service department definitely needs to account for everything they're responsible for. So that's from the time they get it in the service department, where they're going to have a technician inspect that vehicle. It's important to have a sound inspection process, something that's standardized, something that can be repeatable. And it's not just, hey, I'm going to inspect this car one way just because today I'm busy and I'm going to just whip through it, right? So having a standard process that's repeatable, where you're catching, every potential problem with the vehicle and identifying what it needs, so that you're educating the used car manager when it comes time to making the decisions on the vehicle. That's important, right? And measuring not only just your service department, but also the parts department, because there's a time there where they need to order parts, or parts are, on order, or in, they're on back order. I need to know how long it's taking for this to get through my entire service and parts department. And then, again, a lot of dealers are only measuring that service department. So even though the service department is responsible for 60 to 70% of what that vehicle needs, you also need to account for vendors that either may be on site. You may house detail or a bumper repair guy or a dent repair guy on site. You need to account for that too. And measuring your vendor's performance is not about time alone either. It's also about quality and workmanship. So from service, again, parts, labor, technician, making sure they're getting the parts and labor accurately, and then also including your vendors in that process.
You started to kind of highlight there, just all of the jobs in the service department that come together to make Recon happen. Why is establishing a strong team culture throughout the Recon process vital to the entire process?
Well, yeah, so I'm gonna date myself. So I worked in dealerships back in the late '80s. Historically, what you see from fixed ops and sales departments is a lot of finger pointing, a lot of blame game. Well, it's my parts department. They're taking too long to order parts. My technician's always saying this car needs tires or brakes or whatever. So you get a lot of the finger pointing. At the end of the day, it is so critical to have everybody on the same page, because at the end of the day, those vehicles both benefit the fixed ops and the variable ops department, right? It benefits fixed ops because the used car department is the fixed ops department's biggest customer. And from the variable perspective, it's important to have a quality product and have the fixed ops team on your side to make sure they're not cutting corners and that they are prioritizing your vehicles. So it is so important, and having a team culture is not always easy to do. What I've seen work really well is having a process set up to establish that culture by benefiting both teams. So it's not just, you got to do my cars cheaper, you got to do my cars faster. It's profitable and beneficial to both the service department and the used car department. And I've seen a lot of great organizations get that dialed in, where you don't see a lot of that. Everybody's on the same page, and that's part of the importance of having a product like Recon Vision, where it gives you the visibility and the accountability from start to finish. From the time you acquire the vehicle until the time the car is ready for sale, you can see every step of the process, who's responsible. So there is no finger pointing or blame game, because everybody's working on the same sheet of music. You can't hide anything.
Right. Let's shift gears a little bit here, Eric. I'm going to throw the buzzword of the world right now, especially in the auto dealer industry, at you. Artificial intelligence. It's been talked about almost anywhere you look now. You'll read something about AI, especially in the dealership world, like I mentioned. How is AI now impacting Recon and fixed ops? Is it being helpful? Is it making efficiency happen? Talk me through some of the importance of AI and some of the impact of it right now in Recon.
For sure, right? You're spot on. At NADA this last February, that was the buzzword: AI, agentic AI. Everybody was talking AI.
Right.
Obviously, Reynolds is heavily involved in that, and we've got it going across all of our platforms. So we've got our new agentic AI called Ray that we are working and integrating in with Recon Vision as well, and it is going to be awesome. Really excited about it. It's going to do a lot of the busy work, right? So the thought process is, let's take away from users the busy work that takes time and is not profitable. Let's focus on things that make that person or that process or that business profitable, and let AI do the busy work. And that's exactly what we're doing. It's designed to be across all platforms. And I'm not going to get too into the weeds on this, but Ray is going to allow you to be able to ask questions, and it's going to start to continue to learn. So it's going to ask, show me all my vehicles that are stuck too long in one department, and quickly respond and show you all the vehicles, or show me, give me some insight on problems in my process. Where do I have some problems? Oh, you have a problem with, your bumper department, or your bumper vendor or whatever seems to be taking an average of 5.5 days, things like that. And it'll allow you to filter and sort through groups of vehicles based off what your specifications are. Show me all my blue F-150s and, what my estimated recon cost is on each of those, and quickly respond to all of those things. And even get into things like, help me with user settings. I need to change permissions on my technician. He needs to be able to do something different, and help walk through things like that. So really exciting stuff. And that's just scratching the surface. We've had a lot of conversations on continuing to expand upon that AI. It's good stuff.
Sounds like it. I mean, it's so impressive what AI can do, across the board, and especially all the advancements we're seeing with it in the auto dealer industry right now. Eric, thanks for all of this great insight today, on recon process efficiency. One last question I want to ask you that I ask all of our guests here on the show. Anything else to add about recon process efficiency?
Yeah, no, I think we touched on a lot of things, but maybe just to summarize, for the dealers out there that are watching, I know that the cycle times, or time to line, as a lot of people call it, is so critical, and it's very important. And I don't mean to dilute that at all. However, putting a quality product out there, especially in today's market, is also highly critical. And I think it's very important that whatever culture you create in your dealership or in your dealerships, it's making sure that you've got something structured in place so that all those vehicles are being inspected the same way. They're not being shortchanged, and you're not putting a subpar product out there, because that not only could be a safety issue, but you're also putting your store's name on that, and you want that repeat business.
Awesome. Eric, again, thank you so much for joining us today here on AutoSuccess Executive Spotlight.
Yeah, thanks for having me.
And thanks for watching. We'll see you next time.